clinic.
I gotta get over here so I don't mess up my
Chair. What's the first thing you're gonna do with them?
Set them on the back.
Put a gate installed on them?
No,
No?
that's not a bad idea. I mean, you know, that's not bad because you.
You don't know.
You say that they do that.
Get the big one in the back.
I feel like I remember that being a
Oh,
test
the blue
question.
one,
What's
yeah,
the
we
first
got
thing
a
you
blue
do?
one.
That's my always go-to answer.
The other one's fit but not good, so well, last time we were trying to do a practical and somebody ran off the good belt and then it was like
I need a spoon.
I can't hear. What is going on?
What?
My good ear is going out too.
So have a seat. Okay, so I've transferred him to the mat. I did put a gate belt on him. What did Deanna say that she started with them first? Did I told her to go into that, 'cause I think it's a little confusing because he's 6 years down the line.
She did,
So she worked out his hand. Then that's true, you need to do that to kind of get him ready. But mainly, if you're a brand new therapist and they brought you in a CVA patient and we're gonna play like he's a left hemi, so he's paralyzed on this left side. And you're gonna first look at his posture and his core strength. And where he's at as far as being able to maintain an upright position. Most of them are gonna come into you, they're gonna be like this. They're gonna be in a posterior tilt, and they're not gonna have any core strength, because it's affected their trunk also on that side, and they're gonna sit like this with you. So, what you're gonna look at first is just, whether you can release get them to sit up straight. So you're gonna look at their positioning. His feet actually are pretty good. If you normally, ideally in most rehab centers, you're gonna have a table that goes up and down, and this one does if someone wants to work on it. So you have a table that goes up and down, but if you don't have that advantage, then there's different pads you can use to put underneath somebody so that they are in a good position. The other thing you want to do is you want to put this hand in some type of weight bearing while you're working with them. You don't want it ever here. Do we ever function like this, or our hands ever in this position? So at least it's on you always have it, we always function in this position. So a functional hand has always got to be turned over like that, okay? So, we're going to go ahead and put his hand over here, because he can tolerate that. And then we're going to start looking at his trunk. So you're going to start doing some tilts and just stretching him a little bit. Can you maintain that? So then you have them work on doing some sitting up straight. You want to look and see if they're equal, put some weight on this side, or is he pushing pretty much to that other side? You can have him actually push into this handle a little bit to maintain. Let me give you a drink.
He wasn't ready, so she said.
Do I have these big bangs under my eyes as I feel?
What?
You look kind of like your face is a little swollen, like you hadn't slept in 3 days. Fair enough.
It's a little red.
So I've got
Who knows?
him sitting up,
You should go to bed every
and he's
night.
able to
Get a couple hours here
maintain
and
it a
there.
little bit, but he falls back
Yeah.
into it. So you can start him just to see where he's at, because we want to have him equal on both hips, right? And we want him in the upright. You might have to mobilize the shoulder if he can't come up and sit up really straight here. So you can just touch him and kind of get him in that upright position. And what do you tell him? Sit up as straight as you can, right? So what's some therapy that I could do with him to work him in this position? You could have him go in and out of it. You could have him just go into the pelvic tilt and come back out of it, see if he can do that. Because he's in, just to maintain. The other thing that you can start having in this position, because we're wanting him to be able to balance here, because balance isn't good, you're really going to have a hold of him, right? Because you don't want him to fall. Which side do you think he'll fall to?
Probably the left.
Normally to the affected side. So your goal is to just start working him here, so you can start having him reach with his good hand. So have him start going out of that position and coming back into it. Going out of that position and coming back into it. Have him reach back and come back into it. So you can use any kind of whatever to have them reach. And so you can start with that. And if they're able to maintain, then you're ready to go on with them from the trunk. What's the next? Let me look at the sheet if I'm missing anything. So you're going to look at everything. You're going to look at how he holds his head up. You're going to look at, does he have some weight bearing? You want to definitely have this into a weight bearing position. And these are really nice to have. These are just old, y'all know what a phone book is? These are old phone books. I'm not sure you can find them anymore to wrap them, but they're really nice because you put just some tape on them, and then they've got pretty good, they're not very slippery. And so the other thing that you have to think about is, where are you going to work from? And Deanna worked from all over the place. I do not. When she does gait training, she's pretty much on the side. I am always in the front. I work right here. I do every bit of my stuff from right here in the front. So that was just the way I was taught. I can't seem to get out of it. So you just have to figure out what works for you. And hopefully you can make that transition like she does from spot to spot. That doesn't mean I can't stand up about it and work with them in standing, but when I'm on a stool, I got to be in front of them. There's just something in me that's the way I was taught, and that's the way I do it. So anyway, that's how I do that. And so then, once you get them where they are sitting up straight, we've already lost it. Can y'all see where he's lost it? There you go. Okay, slump it a little bit.
We basically just did resisted range of motion down to push in every direction.
When you're doing this, do you realize you're
That's
actually
when we just have
mobilizing
them
them?
grip our hand or
So
what.
you could do that about 10 or 15 times and just have them mobilized, because they have spasticity in that side of their body. So that kind of works that spasm out and gets them moving in there. It's just like with a back patient. Don't you do that with have y'all started working on low back core stuff? Doesn't he does a tremendous amount of pelvic, Kendall does. It's very effective to get rid of that stiffness in the low back area. So the same thing with these guys, is you want to get rid of that. And so once you're here, then you can start having them walk on their hips forward. So just come out, and you always want to start out you have them shift onto the bad leg and start out with the good leg. That's different than orthopedic patients. With an orthopedic patient, when they're stepping out, they step out with the bad leg first. With a NDT or a neuro patient, you're going to have them shift onto the affected side and then move their hip forward, or you're going to have them shift onto the affected side and then step out, so that you can stabilize them on that spastic leg and get them stabilized there, okay? So that's how you're gonna do it. So once you're here, let's just say, we're going to have him come up, like and we're gonna sit you back on the mat again. So you're gonna come up and scoot back. So then you're gonna have him walk his hips forward again. So sit up as straight as you can. Is that hard for you? A little tight. Okay, so you're going to shift over onto the affected leg and bring this hip forward. Okay, and then you're gonna shift over and bring this hip forward. And if they can bring that hip forward, great. So you can do a little bit of that where you have them working their hips forward. Just have them shift to the, and just have them start walking their hips forward. And then when they get out to this point, have them stand and scoot back and try to be as controlled as possible with it, and then work on that trunk. The other thing with the trunk is there are ways to mobilize this area. If they've gotten real spastic and stuff, you can, a really good way to do it if they're not, I'm sorry, I don't know, if they're not able to sit up for you at all because they're just so weak, you can have them put their hands here, and the other one, and get behind them and actually mobilize them from behind, because this puts their upper extremities kind of in an upright position, and you don't have to worry about it so much. And so you can mobilize them from back here, and then slump, and then bring them back up, and slump, and bring them back up. So you can work them with the table in front of them. If you can't come up with, sometimes your patients are so severe that you can spend 3 or 4 sessions just in getting their trunk straight, okay? So go through some of that. That's the beginning of where you're gonna start. So if I put on a test, you just had a stroke patient come into the clinic for you, and they're a brand new stroke, they're a week out, they haven't had any therapy, where are you gonna start them at?
Posture.
In sitting on the side of the mat doing posture. That's what you're gonna do, is get that trunk. You're gonna work on the trunk. And isn't it true with every patient that we have that we always look at the core? It doesn't matter what kind of patient you have, you always look at, see what's going on at their core. But if they're in bad posture, it doesn't matter what they can't reach, they can't do anything, right? So keep that. Okay, you cannot work on these high tables. This one works. These two are good. You can work in a chair before you work on a high table because your feet need to be flat on the floor. Okay? Okie dokes.